Hello, good morning and welcome to my camper van. I'm out in the countryside and you may be able to hear a little screeching noise in the background. That sounds like a seagull. It's not a seagull. It is a goshawk. I might film the goshawk a bit later, but today I'm going to talk about allergies, and this is something which does affect people in the countryside, and you may think it affects people worse in the countryside. However, statistics show that it's actually in towns where allergies are the most prevalent. Now I'm going to talk to you about a natural cure, but first a little bit of background. I've suffered from hay fever since childhood. As a child, and I like to get out in the countryside as I do now. It was awful. I can remember being unable to breathe, eyes watering and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, it was not diagnosed. When I was in the army, we were told that if you had any asthmatic problems, you were not allowed to go into the gas chamber. Now, not wanting to show my weakness up, I went in, came out, and it wasn't tears coming out, it was a constant stream. So that wasn't very pleasant. In 2009, my then girlfriend, who was from Russia, introduced me to a drug. The drug's called Aerius, A-E-R-I-U-S. It was like a miracle cure for me. It worked so well that I would take one every 4 or 5 days. No sneezing, no coughing, no problems with breathing, no eyes itchy, no nothing. In fact, as soon as I sneezed once, after 4 or 5 days, I'd take another pill and it was great, no problems. In 2012, I was in California. The hay fever season must have kicked in earlier, or the flowers are different, or whatever the problem was. And it wasn't working so well. In 2013, I was living in Sicily, and then it just stopped working altogether, which was a pity. So I'm afraid it's not much good to me anymore. Well, anyway, I've tried other things. Here's something from Italy, which I don't know if it works or not. It's got a very nice taste, though. Very nice aftertaste as well. And here's something I got from the National Health Service in Britain. My doctor prescribed it to me. As far as I can tell, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's totally useless. However, one thing that has worked for me, which is totally natural and perhaps shouldn't work, because I've read experts saying there's no way this can work because it doesn't have enough pollen in it, but this is honey. And now many people think that bees use pollen to make honey. They don't. They make nectar. And now the concentration of pollen in honey is very low. It clearly does, though, differ from using stuff like this, which is wild honey. It hasn't been processed in any form. I got it from the beekeeper. You've got to buy local honey, because it's the local honey which has the pollen or whatever it is that stops you sneezing and what have you. It's no use going to a supermarket and buying it there. You must buy the local stuff. Now, obviously, this is a sugar. You want to reduce the amount of sugars you take as much as possible. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video, but there's plenty of other stuff available on YouTube, so maybe mine is not necessary. Now, what happens, as far as I'm concerned, is I stir in a couple of tablespoons of this into green tea. I let the tea cool a bit. I think that if it's above a certain temperature, then maybe it won't. It will remove some of the other positive things about honey, which is the antioxidants. So when you buy honey, you want to get it as dark as possible, but most important is as local and as recent as possible in order to combat what your effects may be. Now, if you start taking it well in advance, which is what you should be doing, not as I did, then what you clearly want to do is maybe get honey from the time of year which you got ill. So if you get ill in May or June, then you'll want to get honey that was produced the previous year in May or June. On the other hand, if you're trying as a last gasp resort, then use the most recent honey. Now, I had a look at some of the scientific evidence for this, and in 2002 a research experiment was carried out in the University of Connecticut, where they got 3 groups of people. One of them got this stuff, the second lot got some stuff they got from the local supermarket which had been refined, and the third was giving a placebo. And the result was that no noticeable effects from any of the groups in fighting hay fever was observed. Now, I only read the results. I don't know what the what the faults may have been in the methodology used. I'm unable to say. So there you have some of the scientific evidence, which seems to be against it, but it's worked well for me. For my brother-in-law, it was like a miracle cure, absolutely incredible. So if nothing else, give it a go. And in the worst case, what it can do is it can actually, obviously it's honey, full of calories. It may add something to your waist. Now in my case, I finished off a jar like this in 5 days, and it added, maybe it was the fault of the honey, I don't know, but I suspect it was the honey, put 1.5 kilos onto my weight. But if you start well in advance, certainly substitute this for sugar. If you're using added sugar, I don't use added sugar. Well, I sometimes have nice cream, but other than that, I don't eat packaged food. But give it a go, and if it doesn't work, well, at least it hasn't done you any harm, except for the weight.